Is to illustrate when we install the newer bases how to automate certain functions. So the first thing I did is I just downloaded the update from our website, from our download site, and I'm just running it right now. So once it's installed, I will point out a few new files that are getting installed and how they need to be configured. We're going to configure it to have a local install talking to a cloud and have as much automation as possible. Okay, so my installer completed. I'm going to say finish. There is a new document if we look in the C basis doc that I'm going to open. This is a document that's going to allow me to preset certain standards just to make it easier to see what it is that I'm supposed to do. So I'm just going to fill this here because I think it's important that we understand. So here the local DB name is going to be bus vs10 slash okay, so I've got it all here. This is actually the instance. Local instance. The user is going to be SA and the password is going to be prism 12345 number sign. And the remote IP actually is the bus demo. So this is not going to change too often. And the remote instance, the remote DB name is also bus01. The remote instance is okay, so I've paused it for a minute to enter the information. So my local database is bus01. It's on this server. That's the instance. This is a username and password. This is just information that I'm collecting because I'm going to do a lot of configuration and it'll just be easier if I have it all there. So this is the remote one. This is all information that I have to do. And then the only other thing that I need, which is new, is I need to know where is the access database, the actually access program. So typically it would be, depending on the version of access that you have, it would be in program file 86 because it's a 32-bit program. And it would be in Microsoft Office, Office 15, nope. So in this case it's not, so because this is a 32-bit computer, it probably is in my program file. If it was a 64-bit computer, it would be in program file 86. Depending on which version of access you have to find it. So it's in Office 12. So this is my path. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put it here for now. Just you'll see in a minute why we need it. Okay, so I've got my computer. So the first thing I need to do now is I need to configure my prism config.xml, which is in my basis folder like we normally do. So let's do that first. So that would be in C basis, XML web, and config prism.xml. So I'm going to right click and open with Notepad. So here I've already got the right IP address. I've already got the right local database. I just don't have the right database name here. Okay, and for the remote, this is for my remote, and then for the local, and I can see at the end here, this is R and L for local and remote. So for my remote, this is right here, and again, in the only thing that I don't have for my remote is the database name. Okay, and then the instance name, the manufacturer code, I need to make sure that I got this as well. So based on the information that I had on my cheat sheet, I have now all the information and my BAS demo is configured. So I'm going to save this and then I can close that. The next thing I need to configure is Basis itself. So I'm going to open Basis. I have to make sure I have version 11.8 or above because that's when this all started. And if it doesn't respond when because the database wasn't connected, I can configure the database directly from my little configurator here. We're going to try that. So my instance name is BAS VS. And so this is a local database. When it comes to Basis, it only talks to the local database. And my BV, in this case, I created an ODBC connection called DAM, which is a local database as well for a test company. So once I've put the information here, I click on Generate. That's the first step. Then I click on Apply, so it actually recreates my connection strings. Then I can click on Test. And the first thing it's going to test is a SQL database. And the second thing is a BV connection database. So my two connections are done. So that tells me that this is good. I should be able to log into Basis without any problem here. Now we can also go to the relink form like we used to do and put that information. It's basically the same thing. This is just an easier way and faster way of knowing that we have it done properly. It prompts us to upgrade the data definition. Let's say yes. And then it'll automatically do a relink when it opens. It may give us some security warning if it's the first time that it opens this specific database. Okay, so here we then go to the settings. We need to make sure whether we're using BV or BV Essential that this is checked on. If they're using version 5.9 or over, we put 5.9 here. Even if it's higher, we still put 5.9. And because we're going to be using database on the cloud, we're going to put cloud-based data here. So that should be all in terms of the configuration of Basis. And I'm going to exit here. So I've closed Basis. One of the things that we're going to do now, once Basis is configured, this is a new process. We're just going to right-click and copy it, because what happens now is we're going to have a Basis that runs on the scheduler to perform certain tasks. We don't want the Basis that we're using on and on if somebody is using it on the server to be the one that runs on the scheduler. So I'm going to create an identical copy of the basis.mde program and just going to call it Basis C. The C stands for command files, because what we've done is we've created some command files that'll make Basis open, run certain functions and close them, and all those functions will be based on the different users. There is a clear definition of all the tasks that have to be done on a document that is also included. It's called Basis Automation Procedures. That's also included in the CBasis doc with version 11.1 and 11.8.1 and above. Those two documents will now be part of the documentation. Alright, so this is done. I'm just going to rename the copy now. So remember, this is an exact copy, and if we do an update, we'll also obviously have to update the copy as well. Okay, so I'm done here. The next step is a configuration of the API. So for this, we go to a new folder that will be installed by the Basis Update installer called C Prism Client API. This is a shared folder between Prism and Basis. And we go to Prism Cloud EXE and double click on the Prism Cloud EXE application. This will bring in a screen that will allow you to set up all the parameters. So we have to have the remote server IP, the remote instance, remote password, username and password, remote database name. The service that we're going to be performing is going to be for Basis Transfer PLM. This is always going to be the one that we're going to set. And what we're doing here is we're connecting to a local DB. So what we need to do is we just click on Connect to Local DB. And when you click on Connect, it'll open a window that will allow you to put in the local DB information. So if you've prepared your sheet with all the information, you could do it on here, and then just click Save Credential. If the little light here goes green, that means everything is good. Now what you need to do is you need to save config. When you save config, you're prompted to save it as a separate file. Never do that unless we have more than one company running on the same server. If we have just one company, you always not want to save it as a separate file. So you can just click no, and it'll just save the file, and that's it. This is all we have to do for the API. So the file that's going to be running from the API, there is batch files that the API uses, and there's a whole bunch of them. Most of them are for Prism. The ones for Basis, the one that we're going to be using is this one here, dbreg get tbl transfer pln. What that's going to do is that's going to go to the cloud and get any transactions that have been created on the iPad to the cloud computer. They will be brought into the local folder. So that needs to be running on the Windows scheduler. All the other information is going to be going from the local to the desktop. That's done by the stored procedures within the application. So that's all we need to do on here. The next step is to actually go back to C, so that we're still in the configuration stage. So part of the installer also is now going to put a new folder in Basis called BAT for batch files. And here we have all the batch files that perform the different tasks that the old timer used to perform. So what we need to do is we just need to edit those files to make sure that they have the proper configuration for the local computer. So for example, the first one I'm going to do is II. II is for import inventory. So I'm going to edit this file here. And what I need to do is I just need to make sure I have the proper path to the MS Access folder. How I find that is that I just open my computer, go to my program file folder, Microsoft Office, and I have Access 2013, so it's Office 15. If you have Access 2010, it's 14. 2007 is 12, and so on, or 13, regardless. So you go to the actual folder, and then you have to find the path to the msaccess.exe file, which is here. So that's my path here. This is what I want to copy. So if I copy this file, this path, I can then edit my batch files to just make sure that this is what I have here for the path to MS Access. That's the first path that we need. So we're basically running a program we're running a command file that goes and calls MS Access. And then the second part of this, so this is this part of the batch file. The second part of the batch file, and that's going to be the same for all of the batch file. The second part is the location of the Basis program. So in my computer, it's in C Basis. I've called it Basis C because, as I said before, I'm going to be using the Basis program to be running the regular Basis. So I want a command file basis to just run the command file. I have the option to run it in runtime mode. That's not really necessary, but I put it anyway. And then I'm passing a command here. So that's the only thing that's going to change between all of the command file. So in this case here, the command is II, which means import inventory. If I wanted to import inventory from a specific warehouse, all I have to do is enter the warehouse at the end of the command file. So this would be a file called command II00. So that would import inventory from warehouse 00. And I can save my file as something else. So instead of calling it basis II, I'm going to call it basis II00. Because it's a command file, I can run multiple command files on the scheduler at different schedules. So if I wanted to import different warehouses, I would have to create one for each warehouse. So let's go back and just review all the other files. So this is basis II, which would import all my inventory. I'm not going to do it because I only want to import 00, so I'm just going to put this one on the scheduler. I have IO, which is going to be exactly the same. The only difference is it's IO is the command, which means import orders. And I have, so once I've configured one, I can actually copy all the way to here. That's going to be the same for every single file. Then the last few characters change just to tell the system what to do, and we create them as separate files so we can run them at different intervals so that they perform their own tasks when needed. I'm going to close this. Import UPC is just to update the UPC codes for the inventory. And upload order is a new one that actually uploads the order directly in BV. So the idea, if we're using all those command files, is to completely automate all the transactions that Basis processes. So With this in place, we would be able to simply use a scanner to scan the orders, and everything else would be done by the command file. So why don't we go ahead and set up all those on the scheduler, and then we'll see how that works. We're now ready to start placing all our files on the scheduler. We've actually configured basis, we've configured our XML file, we've configured the API. Everything is configured. All we need now to do is just install all those processes onto different schedules. So we have a document that now gets installed in the doc folder called Basics Automation Procedures. I'm just going to go over it quickly here. It basically describes all the processes that I just described. Also describes how to set it up on the scheduler, decides what you need to put on the scheduler, and also what you need to do in Basics. So it basically covers everything that needs to be done to do what's described in this video. And I'm not going to go through it since it'll be installed, it'll be included in your next Basis update installation. So let's go to the scheduler, and we're actually going to set those schedules. So all I need to do to go to the scheduler is put the start key. I'm now ready to start doing all my schedules. So I just open my start program, I just start tapping scheduler, and I see the task scheduler comes up here. So I'm going to expand it here. So what I want to do is go to task scheduler library, and I want to create a task. So the first task I'm going to create will be import basis orders. So this is the name of the task. The description is the same as the name basically. I can give it a different name obviously. And I'm going to go to triggers. So triggers is basically how often, in our case a trigger is going to be a time trigger. So this is just to let us know how often we want to import the tasks. So we want to do it on schedule, and we want to repeat the task every, let's say, 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So this is to import orders. So this is basically, that just tells me when the task is done. If it was a server, I would also have the option to run this task even if the user is not logged in. That's important to do. I'm going to say okay, then I'm going to do my action. So the action is actually what gets performed on the trigger. So it's going to be start a program. And in this case, since it's an import order, I'm going to go to my batch file folder of basis. Oops. Sorry. C basis. And the first one is IO is import order. So this is what I'm actually running. No need to do any arguments. Conditions. Again, this is where on the server you would also have the option to run it even if no users are logged in. It's important to do that. Not sure that, anyway, somewhere here is where you do it. Okay, so I'm gonna say okay, and now I've got my first task, which is ready to go, and it will get triggered every minute, and that's the one import basis orders here. So I'm going to do a new one, and that's going to be import basis PO. And again, my trigger, in this case I'm going to do it every 30 minutes. And it's going to be basis IP for import PO. Okay, and that's it. Now I'm going to do a new one. And this one will be to import basis inventory. That one I'm going to do only once a day. And I'm going to do it in the middle of the night so it doesn't really bother anybody. So it's going to be at 3:08 AM. And again, the action will be to run that batch file. And the one that I'm going to run is the basis II00. So at 3 PM every morning, my inventory is going to get updated from BV to basis. And then the last one I'm going to do, well, not the last one, but the other one I'm going to do is to upload my orders. And that I'm also going to do every 10 minutes. So this one is euro. So these are all the batch files that replace the scheduler. The other one that I need to do is to make sure that I get the information from the server. And this is this one here I had created earlier. So this one is to get the transfers from the server. So this one is also running every 15 minutes. And the program that it's running is actually from the client API batch file dbreg get transfer plm.bat. So this is actually part of the API. So I had this one running and it was disabled. I can re-enable it. So anything when I don't want Basis to run, all I have to do is disable the tasks. The other task that I may want to do is I may want to send to cloud and get from cloud when we do inventory, but that's something we don't need to do all the time, so I'm not going to do it right now, but it's an option to do, and that's something we can actually create for the client, and it can be started and stopped on demand when they do inventory. So my computer is all set up now to automatically send the orders. So if I look at Basis on my computer right now, right now my inventory has only items from the F warehouse. There is no orders and there is no purchase orders. So without doing anything, and then if I look also at the cloud computer, if I look at the cloud computer, there is also, this is the equivalent database in the cloud computer. Obviously the client wouldn't see that, but I'm just going to show you just to illustrate the point. So right now we have no orders in the cloud computer as well. So I'm just going to pause everything, and in about 10 minutes all my timers should run, and automatically I should have all my orders that are in BV imported into Basis automatically. My inventory for warehouse 00 should be imported, my PO should be imported, and everything should have been sent to cloud automatically. So I'm just going to pause, and then in 15 minutes I'll resume and make sure that everything is there. Because once it's all there, then the next step is to just take the scanner and start scanning the orders. And then from there, when they should be back into Basis from the other batch, the TBL transfer PLM batch to come in, and there should also be a batch to upload them to BV, which means that everything can be turned off, everything can be running automatically. The only function that the user needs to perform is to scan the order, providing that it does it in a timely manner. And that's what we're going to be testing in a few minutes. So the order came through. I can go into my orders here, and I can see these are the orders that came in from BV. They came in and they would have gone automatically to the cloud computer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to scan that order. So here's my iPhone. I need to pair a scanner to it. So while I'm here, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go to settings and Bluetooth. This wasn't part of the training, but since I need to do it, I figured I may as well record it. And I have my scanner reset to be ready to be scanned. So I just pick my scanner. It's not the right one, so I'm going to forget this device here. And there it is here. All I need to do is put it in pairing mode, and it shows up on here. And now it should be connected in a minute. Taking its sweet time. Okay, so now it's connected. So I go into Basis, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scan the order number to load it on. As soon as I have some orders here, let me just delete them to start fresh. Okay, so I go through, I scan my order number, and I bring it in here, so now it's on my iPhone. I go into the order, and I can start scanning the part numbers. So I scan the item. It wants me to put in a quantity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on auto accept so that it automatically goes on to the order every time I scan something. So when I scan something, it goes yellow. I scan the item again. Now it goes green to signify that this item is completed. I scan another item, goes yellow. Scan it again, goes green. And I scan my last item, and now it's yellow. And let's say that's all I can ship. So I'm going to say tools and sync my order. So this order is actually going to be shipped, sent back as complete to my server. And now the next process would be for the application on the desktop to go and grab that order on the scheduler. So I'm actually I don't want to wait 15 minutes, so I'm just gonna go and trigger the scheduler. So I'm opening the scheduler here. This is not something I would have to do normally. I don't, it would happen automatically. But in this case, I just want to rush it in. So there it is here. So I'm just going to right click and run it. And this should have brought in my record, so I don't need the schedule anymore. That would have happened automatically, obviously. Now when I go back into my order, I can see that my order has been updated automatically, and I can click on show completed order. So this order comes in, it's now ready to be uploaded to BV. And again, this is something I can look at, or I don't have to. Automatically now it's showing me the quantity that I've shipped. If my scheduler is set up to upload orders, then that should also happen automatically. Let me open the scheduler and trigger that task as well. So there's my scheduler. If I wait 10 minutes, it would go, or I'm going to let it, I'm going to force it. Upload basis order. Here it's disabled right now. I'm going to enable, and I'm going to just click on run. So again, this is a process that would have happened by itself. It would open basis, it would upload it, and then it would close it. And again, right now it's running, so I'm going to just disable it because I don't want to have all these processes running. And let's say I go to Business Vision, and I can go, move this up so that you can see what I'm doing. So there's Business Vision here. Here's my orders. And if I look at that one order that we were working on, I can now see that it's been committed. So everything that I just displayed here, once it's set up, the only thing I have to do is scan it. Everything else would have happened automatically. In my demonstration, I triggered the scheduler just because I didn't have to wait, but I could have just waited and things would have happened just as well. So this completes this video here for the orders. Same thing would happen with the PO. The only thing we don't do is we don't upload the POs. The POs would have to actually go to purchase order here, and once we receive a PO, we would have to manually upload it by clicking up upload to BV. And the inventory also happens automatically, but we don't upload the inventory. That's a manual process, but there is a separate video for this. So this concludes this automation demonstration.